During her night shift, a cleaner picks up a ringing phone in the silent, empty boardroom of a billionaire's company. The room is a temple of glass and steel, a place where fortunes are made and lost. For her, though, it's just another surface to polish. She knows she's breaking a dozen rules. Touching the CEO's private line is a fireable offense, no questions asked. She's about to hang up and retreat back into the invisibility that keeps her safe when a single, frantic word, in a language no one in this skyscraper knows she speaks, makes her blood run cold. In that moment, she realizes the horrifying truth. She, the woman who empties the trash, is the only person standing between the billionaire who owns this building and absolute ruin. Her next move won't just decide her future, it will decide the fate of an entire empire. Section 1, The Invisible Force. Naomi moved through the halls of Whitmore Enterprises like a ghost. Her presence was a paradox. She was essential to keeping the place running, yet completely unseen by the people who worked there. By day, these halls buzzed with ambition. Men and women in sharp suits marched with purpose, their voices a constant hum of stock prices and billion-dollar deals. They were the masters of this universe. But by night, the building belonged to Naomi. The noise of commerce was replaced by the gentle whir of her floor polisher. In the stillness, she found a strange kind of peace. She wasn't just a cleaner, she was a restorer of order. Every morning, she left the offices immaculate, a pristine stage for the daily corporate drama to unfold. She took pride in her work, the gleam on the boardroom table, the perfect vacuum lines on the plush carpets. These were her signatures, the quiet proof of her diligence. The executives who benefited from her work never saw her. To them, the office just magically reset itself every night. They might notice a smudge on the glass, but they never thought about the hands that wiped it clean. Naomi wasn't a person. She was a line item in the maintenance budget. This invisibility used to bother her, but she'd learned to use it as a cloak, allowing her to observe and listen. And Naomi was a gifted learner. Her life had been a whirlwind of different cultures and languages, thanks to a childhood spent in diverse neighborhoods and a curiosity that books alone couldn't satisfy. She'd picked up Spanish from her neighbors, learned basic Mandarin from vendors at the market, and taught herself Japanese through anime and language exchanges, fascinated by the culture. She never imagined this private passion would ever be useful at a place like Whitmore Enterprises. Here, the only language that mattered was money, a dialect she felt she would never speak. Her own dreams were much smaller than the global domination plotted within these walls. She wanted to open a small community center where kids could learn new skills and find support. This job, with its quiet nights and steady paycheck, was how she planned to get there. It was a bridge from her present to her future. The king of this castle was Mr. Alastair Whitmore. Naomi had only seen him a few times, a tall, imposing figure stepping into a private elevator, his face etched with intense focus. The papers called him a visionary, a modern-day Midas. To Naomi, he was just the owner of the desk where she'd once found a half-eaten, expensive sandwich. Lately, the signs of his stress were everywhere. More coffee cups in the trash, the scent of his cologne lingering longer in the air, a sign of restless nights spent pacing his office. The source of that stress was a deal with the Daewin Group, a massive Japanese tech conglomerate. Naomi knew the name because it was scrawled on every whiteboard. This partnership was worth billions. It was the key to the company's future, the final jewel in Alastair Whitmore's crown. While Whitmore was the head, the fangs belonged to junior executives like Marcus Thorne, the VP of Global Strategy. He was young, handsome in a cold, corporate way, and radiated an arrogance that was almost suffocating. Naomi had learned to make herself extra invisible around him. He didn't just ignore the cleaning staff, he looked through them with disdain. He once snapped at her for the noise of her vacuum, growling, "Some of us are trying to build an empire here. Could you be irrelevant somewhere else?" Naomi had just nodded, turned off her machine, and waited until he left. It was men like Marcus Thorne who reminded her that in this world, her worth was measured by the tools she carried. He was a key player on the Daewin deal, and in his supreme self-confidence, he was a disaster waiting to happen. Section 2, The Looming Storm. The negotiations with the Daewoo Group were like a chess match played across continents. The prize was a multi-billion-dollar partnership to develop revolutionary new technology. For Whitmore, this was about legacy. For the Daewoo Group, a company built on precision and honor, it was about finding a Western partner they could trust. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Because of the 13-hour time difference between New York and Tokyo, the most critical calls happened in the dead of night. Marcus Thorne's team gathered in the boardroom, fueled by stale coffee, believing they were on the verge of a historic win. The biggest hurdle was language. The Daewoo Group's executives were most comfortable negotiating in Japanese. Whitmore Enterprises had hired interpreters, but Thorne, looking to cut costs, had grown reliant on state-of-the-art translation software for the documents. He boasted that the technology was flawless. "It's the 21st century," he was overheard saying. "We're taking human error out of the equation." This was his first, and most critical, mistake. Language is more than words, it's packed with nuance and cultural subtleties that software can't grasp. The Daewoo Group, too polite to object, trusted that their American partners were acting in good faith. The fatal error was buried deep in the contract, in Annex C, Section 8. The original Japanese text, crafted with meticulous care, stated that in the case of product failure, liability would be futen o bunkatsu suru, a phrase meaning, to share the burden, or divide the responsibility. It implied a true partnership. The software, however, made a subtle but catastrophic error. It translated bunkatsu suru not as share, but as transfer. The English version of the contract, the one Alastair Whitmore was ready to sign, now stated that in a worst-case scenario, the Daewoo Group could transfer the entire financial and legal burden, potentially hundreds of billions of dollars. Onto Whitmore Enterprises. It was a corporate time bomb, hidden in plain sight. During a final call, Daewoo's lead negotiator, Mr. Tanaka, tried to get clarification on that exact section. The junior interpreter, intimidated by Thorne, gave a watered-down summary. "Mr. Tanaka is just reconfirming the standard liability protocols, sir." Thorne, impatient to close the deal, waved it off. Yes, the standard protocols. Let's move on." He saw it as a tedious formality, not the urgent warning it was. The mistake was sealed. The final document was loaded into a secure digital portal, set to be automatically and irrevocably signed at 1 p.m. Tokyo time, midnight in New York. The storm was no longer looming, it was about to break. The building was deep in its nightly slumber. The only sound was the distant hum of the city. Naomi worked her way through the 40th floor, entering the main boardroom. The vast mahogany table reflected the city lights like a dark lake. As she began her work, a shrill sound cut through the silence. A telephone. Not a normal desk phone, but the sleek silver device on the credenza, the international direct line. It rang with an urgency that felt wrong in the empty room. 1 ring. 2. 3. Naomi froze. Her first instinct? Ignore it. Answering that phone was so far outside her job description it wasn't even funny. It was a one-way ticket to getting fired. She tried to go back to work, to drown out the noise. But the ringing was relentless. 7 rings. 8. 9. It wasn't just a phone call, it felt like a siren. Someone on the other side of the world was desperate. Her conscience started to war with her fear. What if it was an emergency? With a deep breath and a trembling hand, she picked up the receiver. "Hello. Whitmore Enterprises," she whispered. She was cut off before she could say another word. A torrent of rapid-fire Japanese flooded her ear. The voice was panicked but formal. He wasn't asking for Whitmore or Thorne. He was rattling off technical jargon about sections and clauses. It would have been gibberish to anyone else. But to Naomi, it was crystal clear. And then she heard it. A phrase that made her blood run cold, Judai na goyaku. A grave mistranslation. He followed it immediately with the clause number, Annex C, Section 8, and the specific term that had been corrupted, Bunkatsu Suru. He explained frantically that their final review had caught the error, an error that shifted the entire foundation of the partnership. Naomi and stood motionless. The contract was set to execute in less than half an hour. She wasn't just a cleaner who picked up a phone. She was now the only person who knew this devastating secret. She understood every word, and with that understanding came terrifying clarity. The deal everyone was celebrating was a sham. Thorne's arrogance and his flawless software had led the company to the edge of a cliff. She glanced at the clock on the wall. 11:34 p.m. The countdown had begun. Section 4, the point of no return. Panic, cold and sharp, seized Naomi. Who could she possibly tell? Her supervisor in the basement would just yell at her for answering the phone. The security guard downstairs would do the same. She was about to shatter every rule in the book. She looked at the contract terms still glowing on the boardroom screen. There it was, in bold print, the Daewin Group reserves the right to transfer the full burden of liability to Whitmore Enterprises. A corporate death sentence. The Japanese executive, Mr. Yoshida, was still speaking, pleading with her to find anyone who could understand. Naomi took a deep breath. Fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. A different part of her took over, not the timid cleaner, but the woman who understood that the most dangerous words are the ones that are misunderstood. She made a decision. She brought the receiver back to her lips. Yoshida-sama, she began, her voice steady and formal, speaking in perfect business Japanese. Moushiwake gozaimasen. Kochira no shisutimo ni iamari ga adayudisu. Please accept my deepest apologies. It appears there has been an error in our system. There was a stunned silence on the other end. The panicked flow of words stopped cold. Anata wa. Who are you? He asked, his tone shifting from panic to disbelief. My name is Naomi, she replied. I understand the problem completely. Please, give me a moment. Do not terminate the agreement. This is a mistake. We will correct it. Her calm authority bought her the time she desperately needed. Mr. Yoshida agreed to hold. Naomi's mind raced. Then she remembered, a whiteboard in Mr. Whitmore's assistant's office. At the top, circled in red, was Whitmore's personal cell number. It was an unthinkable breach of privacy. But what was the alternative? Let the company collapse to save her own skin. Her hands shaking, she pulled out her own phone and dialed. It rang once. Twice. A third time. Finally, a voice answered, thick with sleep and irritation. Who is this? It was Alistair Whitmore. Mr. Whitmore, sir, Naomi stammered. My name is Naomi. I work on the night cleaning crew. A dangerous pause. How in God's name did you get this number? He growled. Sir, I apologize, but this is a dire emergency regarding the Daewin Group contract. The deal is done, he snapped. Whatever it is, it can wait. Do not ever call this number again. He was about to hang up. No. The word burst out of her. Sir, they are on the other line right now. The contract is wrong. There is a mistranslation, a goyaku in Annex C, Section 8. It transfers all liability to you. All of it. The contract executes in. She glanced at the clock, 14 minutes. You're about to lose everything because of one word. Her desperation, the specificity of her language, the use of the Japanese word goyaku, cut through his anger. It was so specific, so bizarre, it stopped him cold. He paused. Put them on speaker, he commanded, his voice now sharp and fully awake. Naomi fumbled with the boardroom phone, finally pressing the speaker button. She held her cell phone up to the boardroom phone's receiver, and Whitmore's voice boomed through the room. "Yoshida-san, this is Alistair Whitmore. I'm told there's a problem." And then, Naomi did the most audacious thing of all. She began to mediate, translating between the two men with a speed and precision that was breathtaking. She wasn't a cleaner anymore. She was the vital bridge over a billion-dollar chasm of misunderstanding. Section 5, The Aftermath and the Reckoning. The next 9 minutes were the most intense of Alistair Whitmore's life. From his bed, he listened as the woman who cleaned his office expertly navigated a negotiation his own hand-picked team had completely fumbled. With Naomi as the bridge, Whitmore and Yoshida agreed on a correction. Yoshida's team issued a digital addendum to the contract with only seconds to spare. The bomb was defused. The deal was saved. When it was over, Whitmore's voice was quiet. "Naomi," he said. "Stay right where you are. Don't talk to anyone. I'm on my way." An hour later, Whitmore strode into the boardroom at nearly 2 a.m., wearing a coat thrown over his pajamas. He wasn't flanked by security. He was alone. He just looked at her, the humble woman who had just saved his entire legacy. The next morning, Naomi was summoned to the 40th floor. Inside the boardroom, the mood was tense. Marcus Thorne was there, his face ashen. When he saw Naomi, he sneered. "So, the cleaner is giving us strategic advice now? Mr. Whitmore, this is a gross breach of protocol." Whitmore held up a hand, silencing him. "Marcus," he said calmly, "I have a recording of the call from last night. I also have the contract you approved, the one that would have made this company liable for hundreds of billions of dollars. You wanted to take human error out of the equation. The irony is, the only thing that saved us from your catastrophic incompetence was a human. This human." He turned to Naomi, and for the first time, she saw respect in his eyes. "Marcus, your position is terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Don't bother cleaning out your desk. I'm sure Naomi's team will get to it." After Thorne was gone, Whitmore turned to a stunned Naomi. He apologized, for his own ignorance, for a corporate culture where someone with her talent could be invisible. He offered her a check so large it made her gasp, enough to not only build her community center but to fund it for a decade. But he offered her more than money. "I'm not letting you go," he said. "Talent like yours is the rarest thing on earth. I'm creating a new position for you, Director of International Communications. You will be my personal advisor on all our cross-border deals. The company will pay for any degree you want from any university. You are no longer invisible, Naomi. Not in this company. Not ever again." Of course, the transition wasn't perfectly smooth. As the story went viral in business circles, she faced jealousy and red tape. At one point, HR actually tried to suspend her for breaching protocol, an absurd move that Whitmore personally squashed with a single, furious phone call. These were just the last gasps of a system trying to understand something it couldn't control. Conclusion and CTA. A year later, the halls of Whitmore Enterprises felt different. The company's international division was more successful than ever, closing deals with a new level of cultural respect. Leading that charge was Naomi. She now walked those corridors in a tailored suit, her voice confident and respected in the very boardroom she once cleaned. And her community center was under construction, a beautiful brick and glass building downtown. She was no longer a ghost in the machine, she was one of its chief architects. Naomi's story is a powerful reminder that incredible talent and untapped potential can be hidden in plain sight, often in the very places we're taught to overlook. A person's value isn't defined by their job title, but by their character, their skills, and the courage to use them when it matters most. What would you have done? Would you have answered the phone? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that everyone has something powerful to offer the world.